Okay, so um, I think it's time to start the webinar. Okay, so hello, everybody. Welcome back to our live event today, which is on inclusive assessment. We've just had one fantastic session, and I'm sure we've got another great session coming up now with Paula. So please say hello to us in the chat. Tell us where you're joining us from. I can already see many different countries: Thailand, Pakistan, North Cyprus, Spain, Singapore. Amazing. And Paula, you're in Argentina.
I'm in Argentina. And there are people from Argentina here in the chat box.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if we've got
I want to
anybody
know.
joining us. Let us know if you are in Argentina. Let us know whichever country you're in. Okay, so if you are in Zoom, please put any comments into the chat box. Paula, I'm sure, is going to have questions for you. Please also put your answers for Paula in there. And if you do have questions for the Q&A for later, we'll have time for Q&A with Paula. So please put any questions that you'd like to have asked there into the Q&A. Okay, so yeah, so many countries I can see there, Paula, coming through. Absolutely amazing.
Yes,
So
amazing.
yeah, oh, excellent. So if you've just joined us, you're here for our second session today in our event, Inclusive Assessment. And we're about to start our second session with Paula on making testing more creative and authentic. So before you get started, Paula, I'd just like to introduce you and tell our audience a little bit more about you. So Paula Asad runs and teaches in a language academy in Argentina. She is especially interested in mindfulness in education, and she also has a qualification in educational neuroscience. So Paula is the president of the Teachers Association, APIBB, which is the Association of Teachers of English in the Bahía, Blanca, her region in Argentina, and she helps connect and train teachers. Okay, so I'll hand over to you now, Paula. Enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much. So I suppose I can share my screen now. And here we are. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, wait a second. Present. Okay, there we are. Now, so let's get started. How are you? Thank you, the British Council, for the possibility of being here with you today. It's such a pleasure for me to be sharing what I've been learning so far with all of you, with people from all over the world. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Now, this is the title of my talk. How can testing be more creative and authentic? And this is my agenda. First of all, we are going to reflect on our teaching practice and the way we assess our students. I'm going to share with you some inclusive practices I learned from Lupe, a student of mine. After that, I'm going to share some ideas on how we can test our students' understanding in a way that is not a traditional test, other ways of testing them. And finally, we're going to wrap things up with some reflections. So, are you ready? I hope you are. Now, this is my goal for today is to inspire teachers to rethink traditional testing by exploring practical, creative, and inclusive strategies that shift the focus from judgment to growth. Now, I want to see the chat because I want you to interact with me. I'm going to ask you some questions. The first question I have for you is, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word test? And I'm going to open the chat so I can read here. Marks, right? Stressful, fear, evaluation. Okay, many answers coming in. Okay, anxiety. Yeah. Assessment. Okay. Yeah. Fear. Yeah, I understand. I understand. You know, test is this tool that we teachers have to measure our students' understanding, and they are usually associated with this idea of fear, stress, anxiety. Yeah, all of that. Always. Wonderful teacher. Well done. Now, let's go to the next question. And the next question is, if students do you think thrives in traditional tests? And by a traditional test, I mean the typical fill in the blank test. And you find doesn't. Okay? Done. You want to see the answers. People say, teachers are saying that they cannot hear me well. Is that correct? Can you hear me well? Hi. Okay, yes. Hardworking people thrives, yes. What about creative people? Do you think that those are the ones that thrive in a traditional text or not? Yes, the ones that have very good memory usually thrive in traditional tests, or those students who are fast at processing information. Okay. Private learning. I like that. Private learning. Okay. Good. Good ideas. Thank you. One last question is a bit tricky. It's kind of you have to think of some thoughts. If teaching were a sport, which one would it be and why? I know this question is not easy. You have to know what it is. And what it is. I wonder what it is. Basketball. So many sports. Okay. Relate. Yes. Okay. Tennis, football, okay, lots of sports, lots of sports. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, according to Shelley Moore is a fantastic, fantastic teacher, storyteller, researcher. And she tells us that teaching can be a lot like bowling. You know, in bowling we have 10 pins, and the 10 pins represent our students. The learning goal would be the lane. The lane is the learning goal, and then we have the goal that represents the lesson. So, this is the main goal in bowling to hit as many pins as possible. And if we cannot get the ball, we have a chance. Don't worry, we have another chance. But here's the thing: most of us roll the ball down the middle. Yes, and what happens when we do that? We leave the pins on the edges standing, staring at us. Okay? So, tips for bowlers, and this is something very interesting, they say that if we focus or if we aim the pins on the edges, that is the most difficult pins, then most probably the bits in the middle will fall as well. Okay? And this metaphor teaches us something very powerful. And this is that when we, let's say, design our lessons, just having in our minds the pins in the middle, the students in the middle, the average students, we will probably leave the students on the edges behind. However, when we design and create lessons and assessment and tests, having the pins on the edges, we will probably create the conditions in which every student can thrive. Okay, and I loved this metaphor, and I think it's very telling. Now, I will share with you now some inclusive practices I learned from Lupe, a student of mine. Lupe is a teenager. She's 14 years old. She's very funny. She is sunshine in human form. She's all the time smiling, cheering people on. She's fantastic. She's so lovely. Like every student in our classroom, She also has her challenges. Okay, she has her challenges. She has difficulties when she has to produce sentences spontaneously on the spot, or give opinions or link ideas. She struggles to move into a more abstract thinking. So I knew from the very beginning that I had to do something to help her, that I had to study, that I had to read. I'm not an expert on inclusive education. I'm just a teacher like you, trying to do the best for her students. And I wanted to become the teacher that she deserves. And there are a couple of things that I learned that helped her a lot. And there are other things, other practices that I have been doing for quite a long time. So I want to share all the things that I've learned with you. So you can also help your students. Now, the first thing my partner also talked about is this idea of providing multiple means of engagement and the why of learning. What is it that my students are studying what they are studying? It should be very clear to them. Yes? And this also has to do with effect, the emotional, let's say, connection that drives learning. So, this is that we can keep our students motivated. First of all, teach relevant content, content that is connected to our students' lives, to our students' worlds. Something that I usually do is I survey my students at the beginning of the year so I know what they like, what their passions are. Then I design lessons that are more aligned with their interests, passions, and in the way I can engage them in lessons. Provide different levels of challenges. This is connected to the idea of competence. This idea that we can master the task, that we can do something. This growth mindset that we should develop in all of our students and allow students to engage with the content in different ways. That is, we have to provide our students with voice and choice. Yes? Giving them some kind of freedom to choose what best works for them. Now, another thing, provide multiple means of representation and the what of learning and how we are going to present the material in a way that everybody can understand. And here we have some tips that you can apply tomorrow in your lesson. You can have spoken explanations with visuals because not all of our students process information at the same speed. So having a visual can anchor meaning. Use gestures and behavior to make meaning clear. Offer audio and text for reading passages because the more channels we include, uh, students will understand much better. Anticipated reading, and this is something I have to do with Lupe. Before coming into class, she reads the text that we are going to work in class before at home, so she doesn't have so many distractions, for instance. Okay, she can concentrate better, and she can mark the text, look out for the words that she doesn't understand. And when she comes to class, we do the tasks, the activities, and everything. Okay. I provide models of writing, speaking tasks, sentence starters. They are amazing for those students that have a lower level of English. And put tasks into smaller parts. If we have an instruction that is like this, okay, make it shorter or divide it into short chunks. And these are some accessible fonts, okay? Fonts that do not have those let's say, decorative strokes. They are simple, they are rounded, they are clear, and the size should be a bit bigger for primary school students and it's smaller for secondary school students, but it should be quite big. And we have to avoid cramming information in on the same page. So another one, provide multiple means of expression. So this is the how of learning. How is it that my students are going to show understanding? How is it that my students are going to act on their knowledge and communicate what they have been learning. So I'm going to give you an example, okay? Are you ready? Here we go. This is my example. Suppose that our goal is we want our students to narrate a story. Yes? So let's unpack the goal. Students will demonstrate their ability to narrate a story with a clear beginning, middle, and end using appropriate connectors, vocabulary, and texts. Fine. So let's see the traditional instruction, the typical instruction. Look at the pictures and write a short story. Use past simple tenses and include connectors first, then after that, final. So here we have one product, one way, one product. Now, if you want to be a little bit more inclusive, this would be the instruction. Look at the pictures and in pairs, suppose this is the very first time they have to narrate a story, so they can do this with somebody else. Narrate the story. Use the sentence starters or word bank if you need support for those students with a lower level. Use, very important word, how to narrate. Write your story, record your voice and send it to your teacher or act it out. So here we have choice, support by providing sentence starters or word bank, and multiple ways of expression. Yeah, so this is the inclusivity. Now, I love this quote by Star Falkenstein. She wrote this book that is called 10 Ways to Go Ageless. And I highly recommend reading this book. It's amazing. It blew my mind when I first read it. And she says, people learning is subjective. And when we only offer one way or route for learning, we greatly limit the possibility that every student will achieve mastery. Okay, another tip, we have to provide multiple attempts for learning. We have to give our students different ways in which they can practice the skill before any summative exam. Mock tests are great. Quizzes. Universal response is escape rooms. Yes. Do you know what an escape, a universal response is with that strategy? I'm going to stop sharing if you can. Okay, how can I stop sharing? I can't see it. Share, share, share. Who can help me? Stop sharing. Gosh, I couldn't see the button. Okay. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see
Yeah.
you. You've stopped sharing now,
Okay.
Paula.
Okay, I'm sharing because I want to tell you something I did with my students. Can you see this? What do you think this is? Yeah, I'm going to have a look at the chat. Yes, 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 yes. Whiteboard, yes. It's a mini whiteboard. And you know what I created? Because here in Argentina, they are very expensive and have many students. So I created this just with a white sheet of paper and then I laminate it. As simple as that. Good. So in universal response, you give your students one of these. You give one of these and a marker, and you ask them a question. And on the count of three, they all have to show their whiteboard. So you have an idea, more or less, if they understand, if they are following you. So if I say the animal has a shell, four legs, it's green, and walks very slowly. Which animal is it? One, two, three. What is it? Yeah, right. Yes, so your students can do that by writing it here in the mini whiteboard. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Good. All right, fantastic. Let's move to student-teacher conferences. Student-teaching conferences. This is a one-on-one meeting. We connect with our students to discuss their academic journey and reflect on their progress. And the main goal of student-teacher conference is to include our students in the assessment process. It's the moment in which we identify roadblocks, we give feedback, and set goals for next time. So, the question I have for you now is, first of all, have you ever held a student-teacher conference? And if so, how often do you do student-teacher conferences? Every quarter. Good. Someone has student-teacher conferences, and I'm so happy about that. Sometimes, once in a year. Good. Right. Some people, okay, some teachers have already, okay, experienced what a student-teacher conference is. Good job. So, and then to give you some tips and ideas on how is it that I um, have conferences with my students. And the first thing that I do is to prepare for the conference. My students have to come to the conference prepared. So I usually give them a Google form to complete. Sometimes it's something printed, sometimes it's Google form, but for me, it's easier if they complete using a Google form with some questions for them to reflect on their journey. And then, of course, before the conference, I read the responses. And then comes the part in which I meet my student and we have a chat and we talk about their progress. And I guide them to see their strengths and areas for growth by looking at their portfolios. Yes, we go through their portfolios, their assignments, the tests, because they also have traditional tests at my language school. And they are the ones who decide on the grade. They are the ones who propose a grade. And that is the grade that I read in the report card. Now, teacher does not agree with the student for any reason, then the conversation should be longer, okay, till we can help the student see objectively what is the grade that they actually deserve. Now, honestly, after holding student-teacher conferences for more than 10 years, I have never had a student claiming a grade that they didn't deserve. Most of the time, we agree with the grade, most of the time, and sometimes some students might undervalue their work. That is something that it might happen. Yes, but don't be afraid because sometimes we as teachers feel that if we tackle over the reins, our students will, let's say, give a grade that they don't deserve, a higher grade or something like that. And that, at least in my case, never happened. Never happened. Okay, and stick to a schedule. We should assign some time for each student to come to the conference. If you have very large classes, I suggest having the conferences in groups. You can arrange groups according to their strengths and their challenges. So that might be more appropriate if you have very large classrooms. Mm. Let's go to the practical ideas. How is it that we can test our students in ways that is not the traditional test? I want to tell you something. Traditional tests also have a place in my class, that they are not the only tool I have to test my students' knowledge. Okay, so let's start with the first idea. The first idea is board games. We can wrap up a unit by asking students to design their own board games around the topics they have just learned. So, first of all, they design the board game. You can find lots of templates on Google if you if you want to search the web, and there are lots of free templates to download. Or your students can also create their borders, have to present it to their classmates. After that, we have a board game fair in which students rotate and play the different games. And at the same time, they are practicing and revising all the vocabulary grammar that they have been learning. When playing, students with a rubric have to assess their classmates and provide some feedback. And after that, the teacher gives feedback to their students, and we all reflect on the things that they did well and what are the things that they can do to improve next time. So why board games work? Because they allow students to develop their creativity. Yes. Students can have different roles, like the one that designs the game, like the ones that is going to speak about the rules. I mean, they can take different roles according to their strengths. And of course, this activity is meaningful, engaging, and your students will love it. Now, another idea that I have for you is online quizzes. These quizzes can be used to test your students' knowledge. They can also be used to practice for a test. You, the teacher, can create the quizzes, or the students, which is much more challenging, create quizzes for their classmates. Yeah. And what is fantastic about this is that the machine corrects everything for us. So we don't have to a lot. Okay. From time to time, an online quiz can help us a lot, right? Yeah. These online quizzes work. They offer multiple modes of access. This means that in many of these platforms like Blueprint or Hoot, students can read the question and listen to the question at the same time, which is fantastic. You can add pictures, memes. They're low stakes, flexible. Students get instant feedback. Now, question for you now. Board games or online quizzes? Which do you think works for being creative and inclusive? Online quizzes, both, board games, lovely. Online quizzes, okay, both, great. I'm happy that you like them. Okay, wonderful. Depends on the students. Yes, absolutely. Depends on the students. No time. Yes, it takes time. Yeah, it takes time. Thank you. Thank you for the answers. Okay. Let's keep on with another activity. And it says an escape room. Wait a second. Do you know what an escape room is? Any idea? Have you ever played an escape room? No. No. Hmm. Oh my class. Wonderful. Okay, your students will have lots of fun. Okay, an escape room is it has this idea of students or participants being locked in a space and they need to solve puzzles to get out. There are very fancy escape rooms all over the world, and of course, we are teachers, we don't have time to do this. So what I'm going to share with you today is a very simple escape room that you can create for your students. And it's a way of testing what they know, but gamify it a little bit. So this is what I do. I write 10 different questions or challenges for my students, and I put them into 10 different envelopes, or you can use a plastic wallet. And you place those envelopes around the classroom or around the school if you want to make it more challenging. Then I give every single student a worksheet like the one you have here with 10 different laws. Students can play individually, or they can also play in pairs or small groups. Yes, you decide. And they have to start solving the puzzles or answering the questions. And they can start from anyone. They can start from number 4, solve the puzzle, they answer the question, they come to me. And if it is okay, I draw a tick. If it is wrong, I draw a cross. Right. They can only leave the room. They can only leave the room. They can solve at least 7 of the 10 puzzles. And of course, I keep a record of these worksheets. I keep them so I can then write down what my students did. Okay, so super simple, easy. Your students will have lots of fun, I promise. They will love it. And it's a very simple way to test our students' understanding. Now, why escape rooms work? Because if they're working in groups, they're going to collaborate one with the other. Multiple skills in action, because sometimes they have to read, sometimes they have to listen to something, or they have to write something. They move around the classroom or around the school looking for the clues, for the puzzles, and this game is engaging and motivating. Now, this is a presentation, a type of presentation that I found some weeks ago, and I found it so interesting. Is people from Japan here? I want to know. People from Japan, because this PechaKucha presentation, PechaKucha, that name comes from the Japanese. Yeah, it's from the Japanese, yes. Probably nobody from Japan. So, because I was going to be ashamed by my pronunciation. So, PechaKucha presentation, PechaKucha means chit chat. Yes, it comes from the Japan, and it was created by two architects that wanted their designers to present, okay, um, their designs in a more creative and dynamic way. So this is what they created. The original version is 20 slides, but we can make it shorter for our students. 10 slides will be okay. So to present or to talk about any topic, yes, they can prepare 10 slides, and each slide should last 15 seconds. But here's the thing, the slides advance automatically, so they have to practice a lot of timing, yeah? The total presentation time is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So something that we have to bear in mind is that the audience should be doing something. The students listening to the presentation should be doing something like writing things that they found interesting about the topic, or writing down 3 questions about the presentation that then they can ask the presenter. I mean, they have to do something, yes, because if not, they won't be paying attention. We need an active audience. Now, why these presentations can work? Because they offer a clear structure, timing. Students can have visuals in the presentation, which acts as a kind of support, yes, and reduces cognitive load. It's short and fast-paced. So, there's 3 rooms for PechaKucha presentations. Which one do you prefer? Which one? Which of the 2 would fit your students' needs better? I want to read the chat box. Which is nice. I can't see it now. Oh, there. This difference. Okay. More examples. Okay. This Gabriel's presentation better. What was it? Well, I'm really happy that you like them. I'm really happy. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Thank you for the answers. Okay. And now the last two, which are my favorite, yes, projects, working with projects, podcasts in this case. A podcast is a recorded audio program that students create and share with a real audience. And when students create podcasts, they not only are going to practice language, but they are going to show understanding of a topic or a text. Yeah. Students are not recipients of language. They are content creators. And that's the amazing thing about creating podcasts. So I have a question, I think. No, the question disappeared. No problem. But I can ask you a question. Have your students ever created a podcast? Yes, lovely. Okay, no, not yet. Okay, I highly recommend book review. A book review, yes, yes. I'm not going to tell you what type of podcasts they can create. Not yet. Okay. Analyze a poem. Lovely. Great. Okay. These are the type of podcasts your students can create. They can review a movie, book, or video game. They can discuss a current issue or trend, perform, analyze a poem, interview someone interested, share a personal story or inspiring story, or create a short radio play with sounds and everything. They love that. Now, why is it that podcasts work? Because we are giving our students voice and choice. They have lots of opportunities to practice and rehearse. You know, when they have to prepare a podcast, first of all, they have to plan, they have to research, they have to write a script, then rewrite it again after some corrections by the teacher. Then they have to practice pronunciation, reading. Yes, there's lots of rehearsal. And of course, they are going to develop critical thinking, creativity, and digital literacy. Tools that they can use to record their podcast, mobile phones. Yes. Most of my students use their mobile phones. Votery.com is a web page in which they can record their voices and then download the audio file. And Audacity is another, a bit more complex, but it's quite easy to use for them to record their programs, their podcasts. But you don't need to know Audacity. Yes, let them do. Yes, let them use it and learn how to use it. We don't need to be experts on technology. We just give them the tools and they have to try to find a way and use them. Okay. Project-based learning, that's the last one, but I love working with projects. My students love working with projects. Um, you know, project-based learning is a learning and teaching framework that starts with a challenge for a driving question, something that our students have to solve. And this question encourages them to investigate, collaborate, and problem solve. And the audience of this product, performance, or presentation that they are going to produce must be authentic, yes, which makes the project really meaningful for our students. So why is it that PBL works? Because they give students the possibility of exercising their voice, yeah, they can show learning in multiple ways. They collaborate, and the focus is mainly on the process rather than the product, though both are important. Yes, the process is key here. So far, so good. Okay, the project. If you have to choose, rather bring what's the project into your classroom to promote creativity and inclusion. I want to know. Project seems easier. Okay, depends on the project. Depends on the project. Podcast. Yeah, video. Yes, absolutely. Podcasts can be projects. Yes, learners should choose. Very good, very good. Okay. Is there a feedback form for the end of the? I don't know. Maybe Mel can tell us. Project. I think there are more opportunities. Okay. Both can be intercontinuous. Absolutely, absolutely. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, wrap things up. Yes? Are you ready to play a game? A very short game? So we can consolidate what we have been learning. Now, tell me the word, okay? You have to write, I have to, what is the chat box? I don't know, here. Remember it yesterday. Now, inclusive testing, you have to complete with a word, right? Inclusive testing. Advertises overstood. Creativity is not creativity. It starts with the letter D. That's, yes, it's that. Very good. Yeah, only perfection. Practice is not practice, or it could be progress. Yes, progress. It honors each student's strengths and needs while creating space for creativity. Wonderful. And we have another with C, collaboration, and the other one, critical thinking. Yes, you're wonderful students and teachers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, can you type please in the chat comments if you had to share just one takeaway from this webinar, what would it be? I want to know. Escape rooms. Insightful. Escape rooms. Okay, a podcast. For the escape room, I can somehow, if you connect with me through Instagram, I can send you the worksheet I have that I usually give my students to play in escape rooms. Okay. Multiple means of presentation, escape rooms, different. Oh, that's sorry. Yes, but which presentations? Yeah. PBL, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Thank you again, the British Council, for the invitation. This is my Instagram in case you want to connect with me, in case you have a question, or if you want me to give you something like the worksheet for preparing escape rooms, I'm more than available to give it to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much, Paula. That was so interesting. So many great tips, practical advice for activities. I think our audience were just so interested in all of the activities that you had.
Thank
And
you.
we've got lots of questions. But
Oh,
what I'm just thinking
okay.
there is you've shared there your Instagram, and that's amazing because people have been asking, how can I get these templates? People just really want to get their hands on what you're using. So I think, is that
Yeah.
the best way to get access
Yes, of course.
to
You can
all
send
of
me
that?
a direct message and I can send you all my templates, all the activities that I use with my own students, or if they have questions, whatever they need, they can send me a direct message.
Okay. Oh, that's so helpful.
Mhm.
So I think if hopefully people have had a chance to make a note there or take a screenshot there to get your Instagram details. So if they have, maybe I could ask you to stop sharing your screen now,
Okay, yes,
Paula,
perfect.
and then we can see you better for the Q&A.
Yes, wait a second. Here we are.
Okay, excellent. Well, all of those activities, we had so much interest about them in the chat and in the Q&A. Can we maybe start with board games? Because people want to know more about board games.
Okay, good.
Would it be possible for you, Paula, to give us some examples of the board games that you've used with your
Yes.
learners? People would
For
like to know a bit
instance, 2
more.
weeks ago, my students, they are B1 students, they created a game based on the vocabulary of the unit that we were covering. So it was a unit about inventions and technology. So they created cards with questions, and they played kind of the snakes and ladder, the type
Mm-hmm,
of game with
mm-hmm,
cards. We created the cards, and something that we have to bear in mind is that in order to create those games, they need to know the vocabulary. They need to have the knowledge. Yeah. So it's a different way to test them, to test their understanding of the topic, but in a different way. So this is what I did. It's just vocabulary, but sometimes you can ask your students to create a board game on, I don't know, past tenses. It could be grammar, vocabulary, whatever. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So whatever
Okay,
they are studying.
yeah. So if I've understood correctly, you would take a traditional board game, snakes and ladders, or it could
Yeah.
be any kind of traditional board
Any
game,
kind, yes,
and
any
then
kind of game.
uh,
Or
apply
they
it
can also
to,
create their own games. Why not? With their own
yeah,
rules.
why not? Exactly. Yeah. So they could just create
Yes.
something completely new and
Yes.
innovative.
And that would
Yeah,
be wonderful.
it would be amazing. And
Yes.
so you're talking about that what they can develop by, creating these board games is, like revising vocabulary, etc. But we had an interesting question from Philayanti, I hope I pronounced that correctly, in Zoom, who asks, how can board games help students improve their critical thinking skills? So this could
Yeah, because
also be something else, another skill, which is,
yes, of course.
yeah.
Because when they create the games, they have to be, first of all, prioritizing information. Okay, I'm going to use this vocabulary, I'm not going to use this. They have to analyze, they have they're creative and those abilities, those skills to do with critical thinking. So it's not only language that they are developing, but also developing critical thinking skills. So yes, we are developing lots of different skills with an activity like this.
Exactly. Yeah. So critical thinking skills, creative skills, collaborative skills,
Yeah,
working in the group. So yeah, absolutely. Like so
teamwork.
many teamwork. Yeah. Yeah. So many kind of advantages of using the board
Yes, of
games.
course.
Okay, that was one of the things that people seem to love, and the other thing was escape games. I think maybe, I mean, I personally, I've never used an escape game with my students, and I've always thought it sounds like a great idea. And somebody else I noticed in the comments said, I'd love to, but I don't know where to start. So that's great that you've given us that really kind of that template, that concrete example
Yes,
of how to
and
do
I
it.
can send you the template that I use. Then you can change it, of course. Yeah.
Right.
But I try to make it as simple as possible because we teachers don't have time.
Yeah.
So it's 10 questions that we have to prepare. And that's it. Yes, 10 questions
Right.
and one sheet per student. They can also play with somebody else. I mean, they can do it individually or they can play in groups. Yeah, they can do this
Hmm.
in groups and answer the questions in groups. That's another possibility.
Okay, thank you. And I did have a question actually that somebody was asking for sort of a clarification of what sort of puzzles do you put in the envelopes? So
Oh,
somebody
well,
said, would it
that
be
depends
grammar
on
or what would it be? To make it inclusive, what sort of puzzles could you be using?
it all depends on what your students are learning. So if my students are learning, I don't know, narrative tenses, we are working on narrative tenses, probably they will have sentences in which they have to complete with a verb in the correct form Yeah. And that might be one of the answers. Yeah. But it also might be vocabulary or phrasal verbs or whatever. Yes, it all depends on what your students are studying. And the same kind of task we give them, yes, in class, it's something that we can also adapt and use it in an escape room. Yeah.
So you're just like really gamifying that and putting it into
Yeah,
that format.
exactly.
Yeah, making it
Exactly.
engaging, taking away that stress because they're just
Yes,
engaged in the
absolutely.
activity and having
Absolutely.
fun. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. Mhm.
So yeah, well, I think, it sounds like something really, a really good thing to try. And so that was
Yes,
lovely just to see
please, and
that,
then let
how
me
to
know how it
structure it.
goes.
Yes. Okay. Now, I've got another question, and now it's on the PechaKucha activity.
Yes.
Have I pronounced that correctly?
I have no
Um,
idea. That's why I was asking someone there in the chat box if they were from Japan, because the word comes from the Japanese
yeah,
language.
Well, so this was a question from Hasmad Hasmadani in Zoom. For teaching English, what skill do you suggest using it for, and what's the best strategy to maximize the time usage when you use this kind of
You
activity?
mean the time? Okay, that is something that our students have to practice. The skill that they will be developing is communicative skills. You know that our students many a times have to present content. At least in my language school, they're all the time presenting things because that's something that we, in the age of technology, in which most of our students are communicating all the time through screens, we should kind of develop this skill in our communicative skills. And our students, my students, at least at my language school, are all the time presenting things. Yes, because they have a project and they have something to present. But this is another way to present a topic that they might be interested about, or it might be part of a project or whatever. And it's a different way because as you give them a time limit, it's much faster, yes, and dynamic. So that's the
Mm,
thing. That's I think at least that it's going to be more entertaining for the audience as well, because when presentations are too long, you know what happens. Everybody gets bored. Yeah. So I think that it has this idea of being fast-paced and entertaining for
mm,
people listening, for the audience.
exactly. So that's just keeping everybody engaged
Yeah,
in the activity.
absolutely.
Okay, so you've described lots of really great activities, but perhaps some people are thinking, I don't have time. I don't have time to create, these amazing kind of escape rooms. Helen in Zoom said, can you create options for students to engage with the same material at different levels and in different ways without spending hours and hours preparing? What could you say
You
about
don't have
that,
to
Paula?
you don't have to spend hours and hours preparing. Because I can do all that and I don't have to. I don't have much free time. And if you have a template, you can use that same template for the escape room, for instance. And then change, I mean, the tasks in the activities, depending on your students and the level, but having templates, I mean, these ideas, the ideas that I presented to you today, you don't need much time to prepare them, let's say. The presentations is something that is in the hands of the learner. Most of the activities here are no props, so don't worry. Maybe because if they are new, you think that they might take a long time, but they don't.
Mm.
Yeah, so don't worry about that.
So it's maybe a
And in case you
question
need
of
help, you can contact me in case you need help, and I can send you templates or give you tips or ideas on how to how to adopt these ideas in your classroom.
Right, exactly. So just maybe it's a question of getting used to using these sort of
Yes,
activities. And
exactly,
once you have the
exactly.
template, then you can just adapt that to whatever you're
Yes,
doing in
adapt
class.
it and
Yeah.
use it for other activities or for other students, for other classrooms.
Yeah. Okay. Just another quick question. So this came from Francoise in Zoom, who asked, what type of creative testing would you recommend for A1 adult learners? And she's
So,
talking about one-to-one individuals. So I'm just wondering, can we use this for one-to-one classes rather than groups? Can we use it for adults as well as for teens or young learners? Can we use it for lower levels as well as higher levels? Are they all completely
yes, it can be
adaptable?
used for any level, any level. All these activities can be used at any levels. That is for sure. As regards adults, I don't work with adults. I specialize in children and teenagers, but I think that the PechaKucha presentation might do perfectly well. Yes. And then, of course, you can take some of the ideas that I shared today and apply these ideas into your own lessons. If you have an let's say divergent student or a neurodivergent student in this type of classroom with your adult learner, why not use these ideas of trying to chunk text, long text, or using those accessible fonts for them. You can also adapt all these materials for adults too. Yes.
Mm. And
I
I can
think that
imagine
they might do.
I
I
can
think that
imagine,
they
for
might
example,
also do.
the escape room could be, adults love
Yes.
escape rooms. So that could
Yes, of
be
course. And you can also create escape rooms on Google Form. Yes.
right. Yeah. Okay.
If it is online, I mean, I'm thinking about online activities because most of the activities
Yeah.
I presented here are for students that are face to face in the classroom with us. But
Right.
you can also create escape rooms on Google Form. There are ways
Yeah.
you can do that, and if you Google, you will find lots of tutorials on YouTube on how to do it.
Okay. Yes. So we can adapt also to the online classroom with
Yeah,
these
yes,
activities.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
I wonder if we've got time just for one more quick question. Okay, how do you, this is from Isyana. How do you conduct assessments with these creative tests and integrate them with traditional assessment standards that
Mm.
schools usually require?
Yes, I know, I know. I have my own language school, so I have the advantage of deciding how is it that I'm going to test my students. But I know that those working at schools, they have different realities and contexts, and I know that it might be difficult if you are working at a school and they have certain regulations. Well, you can start small with using the traditional test, but having in mind these ideas that I mentioned today, that we can use these accessible forms, that we should avoid chunking information, trying to provide multiple channels for our students to comprehend a text. So if we give them a text, why not listen and read at the same time? So we can um, make our classrooms more inclusive, even if the system or the school tells us that we cannot do these kinds of testing that are let's say different. Okay, so we can apply some of these things in our classrooms.
Okay, excellent, amazing. Thank you, Paula. Okay, I think we
Thank
are
you.
out of time. There were, so many things to take away from your session, and I'm sure that people will go away full of, inspiration and eager to try out
I
some.
hope.
Oh, I certainly will. I'm eager to try some of these out with my own learners.
I'm so happy about
So
that.
Yeah, so thank you so
Mm.
much. Thanks for sharing all of that. Yeah, it was really, really interesting session. We've got to just as well thank our moderators
Yes,
in this
thank you
session.
so much.
Kath in Zoom, Karen in Facebook. Our mini event is going to carry on. In 15 minutes, we're going to be back with a teachers share session. We're going to have lots more top tips for you about making assessment more inclusive.
Fantastic.
Okay, so Paula, many thanks. With anything you'd just like to add before
Thank
we,
you.
we
Thank
finish?
you.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks so much. Thanks everyone for coming and stay with us for the next session.